Okay, so I've just started doing a bit of research on what it takes to get to F1, and whatever I read and all the videos I've watched pretty much came to the same conclusion. It's very, very, very difficult to get your kid into F1, for anyone to get into F1, that is, and also just looking at it. One thing that kind of stood out to me though, it did say, especially for the kids that, let's say they're 14 years old, and they say they want to do karting or they want to do get into F1 or get into motorsport, is that great idea. You just need to invent a time machine, go back to when you're 5 or 6 years old and start karting. So some of the grades have even started when they're about 3 or 4 years old, 5 years old. And that's really where I wanted to get started with my son now. And obviously he's going to be pretty young, and again I'm going to come up with a few different ideas on how I can maybe introduce this to his life. The reason why I want to do this, I know it sounds like I'm almost sounds like I'm forcing my child into F1 and into motorsport, but I look at it this way: is when my brother had his kids, he knew that he really wanted to get them into footy. So first thing he did was he went down to the local footy club and enrolled to play footy for them. So when I looked at that, I look at his kids now. My brother went on to actually play a couple of seasons of footy with them. Our family, we didn't really come from massive sporting backgrounds. We didn't have that opportunity. And now when his kids are now older, they're playing footy and they're absolutely smashing it. So, every day after school, they're kicking the footy. It went to Auskick, went to the underages or whatever I don't even know what the terms are, but basically all the different divisions now. And I look at my two nephews and they're doing fantastic. They've got an opportunity to maybe go much further. My nephew, who's my godson, actually got pinpointed by one of the local clubs in Adelaide, and the guy's got a chance or has an opportunity to actually make something of it. So I look at it this way: is if my son really wants to get into F1, I want to give him this platform. So number one, let's try and get him into karting. So from my research in karting at the moment, karting, you can really start or competing at about 6 or 7 years old. In Australia, it costs us about 10 to 20 grand a season by the looks of it. I really want to do some research and see if that's going to be the case. Some more research that I found as well came down to, obviously, if you're doing the maintenance yourself, building the go-karts, buying used or whatever it is, you can get a couple of seasons in there a bit more cheaply. And I think in those formative years, it's not really about winning championships straight away. I think it's more about getting out there, having fun, experiencing it. And that's where I want to maybe even start now when he's now 1 month old. Just really thinking, how can I learn more about this stuff? So I'm actually thinking of even buying a secondhand go-kart, just so I can maybe start fixing it up, pulling it apart, rebuilding it, understand how they work and learning more about it, and maybe going out there doing a season myself as well, a season or two myself, just to really understand what's involved with it, how to get there, build some connections, build the community, and really understand a bit more about what I'm trying to get my son into. If I look at that from the age of 6 to 7, it goes up to, really for Australia, we have to go international, we have to go overseas to Europe or the UK, and really, if we really want to make a go of it from that point of view onwards. So that's from about the ages of 13 to 15. Again, Oscar Piastri, he was shipped over to the UK. He joined boarding school over there and started competing in the European series. So that's how he managed to get his start. From 16, we go to F4. 17, EU, F3 Open. 18, they reckon they get into the Grand Prix GP3 series. And then from there, you can do a couple of seasons of F2 at 19 and 20 years old. And then obviously all the way to F1. By that point, my calculations worked out to be about 6.9 million euros to be able to get into that F1 seat. So again, just thinking out loud, how do parents even afford this stuff? And that's what I'm really thinking now. I want to break it down. The other thing I'm thinking about is there a possible way, or is there a way to be able to not so much bypass some of this stuff? It sounds like the go-karting is going to be a definite. So how can we get into that as cheaply as possible and make it actually even possible to do. But the next thing is, you can't go karting 24/7. You can't go karting anytime you want. It might be on the weekends. So I think we've got 52 weeks of the year. Obviously, take out a few more years. Even if we were racing every single weekend, which is a massive commitment for my son and for the family, is with the new age of sim racing, are we able to maybe change this up a little bit? So I'm setting up the sim rig. I set up the sim rig already for myself. I'm going to work on maybe a smaller sim rig for my son. That's going to be another project I'm thinking of too. So we've got go-karts that we can get onto there. We can get the open wheeler series on there and really get to familiarize ourselves with how these cars handle, how they work, and imagine competing every single day. It's like kicking the footy after school every day. If he really loves this, it's his passion. Does he come home from school and jump onto the rig without us even asking him to do that? That's kind of what I'll be looking forward to see if we can continue this journey to F1. So this is the start of the research. That's what I'm thinking at the moment. I think now that I've seen it a bit more firsthand, it's actually a little bit disheartening because you think how many millions of dollars does it take to be able to make this dream a reality? And I find that the main thing I get scared of, the reason why I started this channel and the reason why I want to start this process now is that, I don't want my son to come to me at 10 years old and say, Dad, I love go-karting, I love racing, I really want to become an F1 driver, that's my dream. And I say to him, sorry son, we have to actually turn back time, and I wish I could have afforded to get you into go-karting at the age of 5 or 6, when now we can't do that, and it's going to be an uphill battle to try and get you to your dream. So I want to try and make that decision a bit early on and say, you know what, if we can't afford that now, how can we afford it? Another reason why I'm setting up this channel is this could be a potential way for him to be able to get some exposure. From what the other research that I've seen, it all comes down to, really from that EU karting stage upwards, we might be able to fund the karting stage, maybe even the EU karting stage and going international to be able to race over there. But really from that point onwards, it's going to be an uphill battle in terms of funding and trying to get the money to do this. So I think it comes down to how can we maybe come up with some sponsors or anything like that. I know, again, this is very, very early on. This is my thought process at the moment, so I thought I'd share it. This is my documentation of my journey to be able to help my son to get into F1. And I hope you guys want to come along for the ride. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe if you like. The other things I want to be doing now, I've been trying to record a video on a review of the PlayStation VR 2, and obviously anything else I can maybe start thinking about doing to be able to create a little bit more content for you guys as well. And if anyone out there can maybe share some insights on how they can actually even get people into F1 or get their kids into F1, if you're going through the same thing, I'd love you to maybe share that in the comments, or maybe even hit me up afterwards. That's absolutely fine, because I think this is not just my journey. Hopefully maybe there's some of you out there right now that have a 4 or 5 year old son or daughter that maybe you're thinking of getting him into it. Maybe this is your opportunity to actually start now, because again, the research that I've seen so far is you really want them to get into karting sooner rather than later, so that they can build their skill and their confidence and really start learning the racecraft before they really need to start competing. Because after that, apparently they just need to be able to win. They need to actually start winning some of these series in order to progress to the next level. So having that head start of that 6 or so years before they actually start getting into the higher levels, I think it's going to be paramount. And that's what I'm thinking about doing for my son. So hope you guys like it.